Aloha class. For your brief exercise 6-4, they give you Holiday Creations Inc. sold 50,000 units, total sales were 200,000, variable expenses 120,000, fixed expenses 65,000. What is the company's gross margin ratio? Right? So we're looking for the ratio. Sorry, did I say contribution margin ratio? Did I say gross margin? Contribution margin ratio. So we know that the contribution margin is going to be the sales minus the variable expenses will give us our contribution margin, right? But we, from the textbook, you should know a contribution margin ratio would be your contribution margin divided by your sales, right? Sales in total. If you're doing, you could be contribution margin total divided by sales in total. You could also find it contribution margin per unit divided by sales per unit. So either of those would give you a ratio. I can find this contribution margin. I don't actually need those fixed expenses right for this contribution margin ratio, but I would do my 80,000 divided by my sales contribution in total divided by the sales in total, and that's a 40% contribution margin ratio, right? So that must mean my variable expenses, if this is 100%, right, that's 1, we could do 100%, and this is 40%, then the variable expenses must be that 60%. You could also do it on a per unit basis. If I wanted this on a per unit, 200,000 divided by 50,000 units, $4 per unit for the sales price, 120 divided by 50,000 units, 240, and then minus these two and calculate that same ratio, $1.60 on a per unit basis divided by 4. Yep, it's still 40%. So either of those are going to get you your contribution margin ratio. Estimate the change in the company's net operating income if it were to increase its total sales by 1,000. So we didn't have this one set up as nicely. So if it were to increase its total sales, I don't think, and we didn't calculate all the way to net operating income either. So we can continue on with the first part. It was 65,000 of fixed expenses. Net operating income was 15,000. Now they're saying they're increasing their total sales, this total sales amount, by $1,000. So from let's copy this down so we can work with this. From 200,000, it's going to go up 1,000. So this one plus 1,000, 201,000. But I need to know how much per unit each of these items costs. So, or how many units that would actually be. So, how many units? $1,000 extra in sales revenue divided by the cost per unit. So they're making an extra 250 units. So from the original 50,000, if they're costing me $4 for every single unit, and it cost me $2.40 for the variable expenses, right? They must be making 250 more units, right? Times it by $4. Yeah, so an extra $1,000 would get me 250 more units. So we could move these down here and paste these, right? And so double check our math. $4 times it by 250 units plus the original 50,000 units. Yep, it did work out. So it's 50,250 units that we're going to make to get the 201,000. This one times it by the new number of units that we're making would give us a new contribution margin. Right? We have the same fixed expenses within the relevant range, and this is what your net operating income would look like. Here we go. Yeah, so if we have $1,000 more in sales, then we're going to have $400 more in net operating income.